Trip to Uganda has been amazing. This is my 109th country, and I would say I wish I'd visited it earlier. I'm highly recommending it to anyone. It's been awesome.
I've been to South Africa and Botswana, a week, 2 weeks of a safari. Fantastic, loved it. This had that, plus it had primates. We went trekking and saw wild chimpanzees, very close. We went trekking and magically saw mountain gorillas. It was amazing. And that is something that I don't know if we could find anywhere else.
This Gate 1 Discovery small group tour of Uganda begins with a flight from Entebbe to Murchison Falls National Park, home to hundreds of species of mammals and birds. We then journey to see the primates of Kabale National Park for a guided trek through the lush forest to discover a family of chimpanzees. Next, we travel to the stunning Queen Elizabeth National Park for classic big game, primates, and over 600 species of birds. Then it's on to the breathtaking landscapes of Bwindi National Park for the unique experience of sitting amongst some of the last remaining mountain gorillas in the world before flying back to Entebbe.
Game drives were great. We would get an early start and we would be out there crack of dawn.
Seeing an elephant up close, seeing a giraffe up close in their own element is amazing. You don't believe you're there, you know? It's that kind of experience.
Just to see the beauty of these animals out in the open, in the wild, and instead of in a zoo. And in particular, when we would come across a lion, when they are walking through the grass, it's just awe-inspiring.
It was really cool to try to capture a lot of those animals too with my camera. But you don't have to have an expensive camera or a big lens, because so many times we're so close. Like when we were on a boat ride on the Nile River, we were surrounded by birds of all kinds. Everywhere you turned your head, you had wildlife to look at. Groups of hippos emerging from the water and sleeping in these clusters. There were Cape buffaloes along the shore and crocodiles sliding into the water. And then we go on the chimpanzee trek, and we're so close to the chimpanzees. To be with these chimpanzees in the wild was really thrilling. And part of the adventure is going out with these guides, and we're searching for the chimpanzees. So that's what makes it so much more thrilling when you finally find them, and there they are, and then you hear them.
We were closer than 20 feet. I think at one point maybe 5 feet with some of them, and it was them approaching us.
It felt surreal, and it felt so exciting. There's a moment there where I thought, I signed up for adventure. I'm really getting adventure here.
So the gorilla trek was definitely a highlight of this trip to Uganda.
Finally on the way here, it just finally sunk in that, oh my God, we're going to see gorillas.
And how do you feel?
Excited and just ready for once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
And we're all getting ready, and they're getting us prepared, and we meet our guides, and we start heading out. And the trail's beautiful.
I mean, even if you weren't looking for gorillas, just the hike alone was well worth it.
And then we headed up into the forest, and it was pretty thick underbrush. Our guides were cutting their way. The path was fairly narrow.
And the porters were fantastic in helping you up and down and carrying your stuff. So what could have been a pretty dangerous trek if you did it on your own was relatively easy with all the help that was provided.
And then you start hearing the gorillas. And you're bushwhacking, and you can't see until all of a sudden you're right there. And I can't explain enough how thrilling it is to see those gorillas for the first time.
Not to exaggerate, but I felt palpitations because it just got so exciting. I just couldn't believe that we saw them,
We were very close. A couple times the babies came within arm's length of us, but of course you're not allowed to touch.
It took every ounce of restraint I could possibly muster not to go and hug one of those baby gorillas because they're just so darn cute.
And when you would sit down with your camera or just watching them, they would be moving around and getting even closer. They, weren't frightened at all. We weren't frightened. It was really a great experience.
It's such a rare experience. Not too many people get a chance to do this, and we did. And it's something I will never forget.
Uganda is such a beautiful country. The landscapes are just lush and green. We drove by these tea plantations that sprawled across the hills in every direction, and we could see the people picking tea, and we got to see up close how they picked the tea leaves and how they sorted them.
Discovery was great. I really enjoy the small groups. It's nice to get to know your fellow travelers more, which you can do in a small group.
I would recommend Gate 1 travel to anyone. The value of this trip was fantastic.
And our lodges were incredible locations, like in Queen Elizabeth National Park. We stayed in these private bungalows on a hill that overlooked the national park where the sun would rise and set out in front of us. And in Bwindi, our lodge was right on top of a hill with amazing views of a lake out in front of our cabins. And on the other side, these hills covered with terraced farms.
Definitely recommend Discovery to Uganda. The trip covered everything you would want to see, and certainly the value that you get from the trip is well worth it.
I therefore recommend that you visit Uganda with Gate 1 Discovery Tours. Karibu sana.